Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting. If you like today's show, check out our members section at OppermanReport.com. And of course, you can always find our archives for free at Spreaker.com. And if you go to Spreaker.com, you can find my first interview with our guest today, Nick Bryant, where we talked about the Franklin cover-up. He's back today to talk about all his investigation and work into the Jeffrey Epstein case. Nick Bryant, are you there?
I am here. It's great to be on your show again, Ed.
It's been a long time, my friend. Thank you so much for coming back.
Not a problem.
Remind the audience, right? You're very well known to my audience. Everybody always talks about you. One of the most popular shows we had was Nick Bryant. But for the people who haven't heard you, who is Nick Bryant?
Nick Bryant is I generally don't refer to myself in the third person, but I'll go with it. Nick Bryant is a writer. He's been a professional writer for 30 years. He's written in mainstream magazines and also in journals. One of his primary concerns is children and child welfare. And I've written a number of journal articles on child welfare. And actually, I wrote a book about child welfare. And I moved to New York City, and I became a freelance writer. And I was looking into a very kind of a dark subject. And I came across a cult that was trafficking children. And this is in a U.S. Customs report. They were called the Finders. And they got busted trafficking actually 6 children, 2 of the Finders. And they were indicted on multiple counts of child endangerment and, I think, molestation. And then there was a search warrant on the Finders. They had a warehouse in Washington, D.C., and there was like a cache of child pornography. It was really, really disgusting. And ultimately, the CIA quashed the case into the Finders. And those 2 Finders were let out of jail, and the kids were repatriated with the Finders. So that was not in my worldview. I was stunned when I read that U.S. Customs report about the Finders. And I knew that the CIA toppled governments that weren't compatible with our economic interests. And I knew a little bit about the mind control stuff. I mean, I know a lot more about it now, but that Finders, that U.S. Customs report just short-circuited me. And I was thinking, why is the CIA going to bat for a bunch of very strange purported child molesters? And I decided that I'd whiffed on something. There was something wrong with my education. If something like this was happening in the world, there was something. I was very unedified about certain aspects of our government. So that led me to the Franklin scandal. I looked for child trafficking networks that had been covered up and might have some kind of nexus with intelligence, and that brought me to Omaha, Nebraska. I went to Omaha, Nebraska about 6 times working on the Franklin scandal, but the first time was in the winter of 2002, and I was digging into the Franklin scandal, and my life was threatened, and I was followed, and there were some other strange things, and at that point I realized, and then I was talking to people that were, people were terrified. I mean, this is in Omaha, Nebraska, the heartland of the United States of America. People that knew about Franklin or had participated, they were terrified to talk to me, and I felt like I was writing an expose on the KGB and Stalinist Russia. I mean, that's how much fear I encountered. And my first trip there, I also encountered a number of documents. And so between the documents and the palpable fear, and then also the death threat, I figured that the story had legs, and I pursued it. It took me about 7 years, but I did write a very comprehensive book about it. It was called The Franklin Scandal, a story of power brokers, child abuse, and betrayal.
Yeah, I interviewed Henry Vincent, who was I think you were the co-author on that book, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm telling you about it. Okay. I just realized. Yeah, and he was talking about how they had Secret Service detail was working for that Craig Spence while all this was going on. So it had government complicity, if not approval.
It had absolute government complicity. There were 2 primary pimps in the Franklin network. One was Lawrence E. King of Omaha, and one was Craig Spence, who lived in Washington, D.C. And Craig Spence was a CIA asset who had his home wired for audiovisual blackmail. And a lot of the pedophilic parties and orgies went down in Craig Spence's home so he could blackmail people. And he was a who's who of, his directory was filled with people that lived on Mount Olympus. I mean, he had connections. And Craig Spence and Lawrence E. King operated this network. It was much bigger than, people are beginning to understand about Jeffrey Epstein, but it was much, much bigger than Jeffrey Epstein's network. And talk about government complicity, there were 3 grand juries that had to be hijacked to cover that network up. And I don't know if your listeners know about grand juries, but they're kind of infamous in a way that they can be corrupted, because grand jury sounds like a decree sent down from the gods of jurisprudence, but actually a grand jury is just regular jurors that have shown up for jury duty, and then they've been funneled to a grand jury. And a special prosecutor is appointed, and the special prosecutor shows the grand jurors evidence that he thinks is important. So a special prosecutor has tremendous power over grand jurors. And actually, a New York appellate judge once said that special prosecutors have so much power over grand jurors that they could get them to indict a ham sandwich. So ultimately, what happened with the Franklin network is there was a state grand jury covered it up in Nebraska, a federal grand jury in Nebraska covered it up, and then a Washington, D.C. grand jury covered it up. It was that big and that ugly and that malevolent that it had to be covered up by 3 grand juries.
I just got done talking to Sean Atwood, and I understand that you're going to be on there this Saturday evening. What's the date you're going to be on with Sean?
I'm going to be this Saturday. I've already given the interview, but he's going to premiere the interview, and then I'm going to stick around for questions.
So it would be Saturday the 9th.
Yeah,
coming up. I'll make sure that says on Friday, so it'll be the next day. And he was saying about how that you have information that William Barr, our current Attorney General, helped to cover up the Franklin scandal.
Yes, absolutely. That's one of the commonalities. There's a number of commonalities between Jeffrey Epstein and the Franklin scandal. And one of the commonalities is our present Attorney General, William Barr, was Bush 1's Attorney General, and he covered up the Franklin pedophile network. The cover-up was started by Richard Thornburg, who was the initial Attorney General, but then Bush 1, Thornburg went to run for senator in Pennsylvania, and then William Barr stepped in, and he put the finishing touches on covering up Franklin. And now he's definitely covering up Jeffrey Epstein. So William Barr is a guy that you call in if you want dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
And Richard Barr started out his career in the CIA.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've had people directly involved with Iran-Contra tell me that Richard Barr was up to his neck in Iran-Contra and the cover-up and the pardons and all that stuff with Iran-Contra afterwards.
William Barr is very dirty. If your listeners just want to do a little research, Google William Barr, and there's a lot of stuff on the internet about his nefarious activities. He's a dirty guy, a very dirty guy.
You sent me over this lengthy article, and one of the things you mentioned in there is that your work in the Franklin scandal is tinkered with. It's heavily edited in Wikipedia to confuse people. Well, what's going on
Wikipedia has... What's going on with Wikipedia, when people Google the Franklin child allegations, it talks about like satanic rituals and cannibalism and things like that. There have been some unscrupulous Wikipedia editors that, there's been a huge battles over the Franklin scandal on Wikipedia. And there's this cadre of editors that refuse to let anything reasonable on the Franklin page. Now, why would they be doing that all these years later? I've concluded that they have to be either pedophiles and or government people that covered it up, because that's like a Maginot line on Wikipedia, the Franklin scandal. They will not let you post anything that is at all cogent about the Franklin scandal. It's really, and I've got pages and pages of arguments that I've had with these people and other people have had with these quote unquote editors. So yes, Wikipedia has been used quite a bit for misperceptions, and it's definitely been used against me for sure. And I've gone to Wikipedia and I've said, these editors are very corrupt, and they're actually not very honest. And Wikipedia said there's nothing we can do. So, and actually the article was snubbed once, which means that it was completely taken out because there was such a battle over it. And then it got put back in, and these same Wikipedia editors are at it. And it's kind of interesting that one of the Wikipedia editors that I know of, he also edits the False Memory Syndrome Foundation page, which
there you go, yeah.
Which folded about 2 months ago, which is a good thing.
Yeah, fascinating. In this area on the internet, there definitely is an organized group of trolls, professional posters spending all day and all night going back and forth. And a lot of times just causing confusion. They're posting on both sides of the argument, just trying to look crazy. That's definitely an issue with all this. What is Barr doing today to cover for Epstein?
Well, the thing that he's doing is actually he's doing nothing and saying that he's doing something. William Barr, there's so many names that are involved in Epstein thus far. The New York Times ran an article last summer, and it named 6 of Epstein's procurers. I mean, 2 of them actually confessed to procuring girls for Jeffrey Epstein. So what's amazing is that the government didn't act. Now, if the New York Times named 6 cohorts of John Gotti and how they fit into his criminal enterprise, the government would have probably indicted them the following week. But nothing has happened. The government says it's looking into Ghislaine Maxwell. The government says it's looking into Prince Andrew. But it's really not. It's not. The thing about it is nothing is happening, because if the government really wanted to bust this case open, if the Justice Department under William Barr really wanted to bust this case open, they would indict the procurers. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of evidence about the procurers, and all these young women that have settled lawsuits with the Epstein estate. There's like 30-something of them. A bunch of them have named Ghislaine Maxwell as one of the primary perps and primary pimps. So if this was a reasonable investigation, what would happen is, and we know who some of the perps are too, and yes, they're powerful men, but regardless of how much power someone has, this is America, and you shouldn't be able to molest children with impunity in America. Actually, you shouldn't be able to molest children with impunity anywhere. So if there was a real investigation going on, what would happen is the procurers would be immediately indicted because there's a tremendous amount of evidence against them. I said that 2 of them even confessed to being procurers to the New York Times. And then the procurers would be hammered with a number of child trafficking counts. You could maybe 300 or 400 years. It depends upon how much the Department of Justice wanted to rack it up. I mean, this is how it's done with the mafia. And then you get them to turn, and then they would turn on the perps, and then you indict the perps, and then you just take down the whole network. Now, Epstein's been dead for 8 months. If there was any kind of investigation, that's how it would have went down, and none of them have been indicted.
Do you have any confidence in the investigation and the litigation going on down in the Virgin Islands?
Okay, so Epstein's estate is in the Virgin Islands, and Ghislaine Maxwell, his number one lieutenant. She sued his estate because she needs more money. She's hired this phalanx of lawyers. It's kind of interesting. Ghislaine Maxwell has hired this phalanx of lawyers, not only to protect her, but also to sue the Epstein estate, and then also to argue against the unsealing of documentation in the Epstein case. So, I mean, she is guilty. She is as guilty as they come. She did everything that Jeffrey Epstein did. I mean, she knows where the bodies are buried. She knows the perps. She knows the whole network because I believe she helped set it up with Jeffrey Epstein. So to go after her is very, very important. But that seems to be the Maginot line with our Justice Department. They're not going after any procurers. Because if you went after procurers, you'd inevitably run into Ghislaine Maxwell because she was a procurer and also a perp. And she does have this phalanx of lawyers, and I just hope that there's enough public outcry to put up a petition on change.org, because we cannot let we cannot be, if the Justice Department is indifferent to victims of sexual abuse, I mean, what chance do other victims have? And also, if perpetrators are allowed to walk scot-free, I mean, all perpetrators are empowered. So at this point, we really need to focus on these procurers and Ghislaine Maxwell. And there have been a number of high-ranking perps that have been named. William Richardson has been named. George Mitchell, the former Democratic senator, actually majority leader, and of course Alan Dershowitz has been named. There was another governor of New Mexico who has been named. There's a tremendous amount of evidence that the Justice Department can pursue if it really wanted an investigation.
I know one of the things you're very passionate about is this change.org petition you put up called Justice for Epstein's Victims. How many signatures you got on it so far?
I've got about 3,800, a little over 3,800. And what we need to do is get more signatures on that and ultimately achieve a critical mass. And I've got like an Epstein victim is willing to come aboard. I'm trying to put together like a board, and an Epstein victim has come forward. A very eminent psychiatrist has come forward. So it's happening. It's happening slowly because I'm always going against the tide with just about anything I do, unfortunately. But I really believe in this. I believe that Epstein and his network, or Epstein's network, I believe that they have to be prosecuted. I really do. And I think just as a society, we need to do that. Unfortunately, the media hasn't been calling the Justice Department out, which is kind of mind-boggling. But then I wrote a very good article, and I tried to get it published. Let me see. I gave it to Vanity Fair. I gave it to New York Times. I gave it to Atlantic. I gave it to Columbia Review of Journalism. I gave it to Bloomberg, and I gave it to Business Insider. And the three of those editors I know, two of them I know pretty well, and nobody would touch that article. And it's meticulously sourced. You've seen that article. I mean, there's hyperlinks on just about every sentence. So unfortunately, our media, either by omission or commission, has been colluding with the Department of Justice to make sure that the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up is hermetically sealed.
You mentioned silence in the media, and I know in this article you had mentioned how you were surprised by the lack of mainstream media contacting you to discuss. I forget if it was the Franklin case or this Epstein case. I'm looking for it in this article. Can you?
Well, what happened there was I was the guy who put Jeffrey Epstein's black book up on the internet,
Gotcha.
and that was in 2015. I had Jeffrey Epstein's Black Book in 2012, and I came back to New York and I pitched it, and no editor wanted anything to do with it, which, I mean, it's par for the course. I've been pitching, like I started pitching the Franklin Network in 2004, and editors are, when I pitch them stories like this, they're faced with a certain amount of cognitive dissonance. What Nick Bryant is saying is really horrific about these kids being molested with impunity. If we decide to help him, we've got to put resources there, and we need to help Nick Bryant expose this child abuse. Or you can say Nick Bryant is unhinged. He's crazy. So all the editors have gone that route instead of having any kind of culpability and helping these children. But think about it. I started pitching Epstein in 2012, and he was ultimately put in prison like 7 years later. If one of those news organizations had helped me out, think about the girls that would have been saved from that monster and that monster's network. But anyway, so I put the Black Book on the internet in 2012, and I just Gawker finally. It's kind of funny that Gawker was the one that published this stuff, because they were kind of the mean kids in the media, but they published this, and then ultimately when the Jeffrey Epstein case broke, finally, like 4 years later, a Gawker or a Vanity Fair journalist wrote an article about me, about how I was the first guy to be pitching Epstein and how I put my book up on the internet. But I wasn't even contacted by media after that, which I found stunning, because at that point I've been looking into Epstein for 7 years. I had a tremendous amount of expertise on Jeffrey Epstein, but no one wanted to hear what I had to say about it.
A couple of quick questions. Did you get that book from Daniel Hanks?
I did not.
Okay. And the other thing, too, is now what about right at the time of the arrest and the how do you want to describe what happened there at NCCI and the incident at the jail over there? Who knows what happened? Were you contacted then? But at that point, there was an outpouring of media frenzy. Everybody was contacted.
I was not contacted.
Really?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
I don't think that there's a blacklist with my name on it, but I think that editors and publishers are frightened of the truth that I will tell. I mean, that's what I believe. And it's been shown time and time again. Like the article that I gave you, yeah. I really demonstrate that the Justice Department is covering up the Jeffrey Epstein pedophile network. I mean, it's everything is demonstrated. I mean, I've got hyperlinks to sources, and those August publications that I just named, not one of them will touch it. And actually, I know two of those editors pretty well, and I've written for one of those other editors. So it's just it's a little frustrating that people get spineless about this. And
well, Nick, let me ask you this. Off the air, we were talking about how I was going to get on that Art Bell. What was that? Midnight in the Desert station, right? When Art was still alive. Right. No, not Coast to Coast. This was the internet station that they had. Keith Rowland had created an internet station. This is way after Coast to Coast. And what happened was they were going to air my show on there, play the podcast. And one of the shows I sent them was your show. Okay. And in fact, I said, play this week. We were starting. Okay. We were ready to go. And they said, we don't want to touch that subject at all. I don't even think your name was even in the title or anything like that. But they said, we don't want to touch that subject. And now here we are now. It's like a whole different atmosphere where everybody wants to talk about this. This is the fact that, this is how you get the most clicks and the most hits and all the most traffic and stuff like that, talking about this topic. What do you think is better off? Do you think it was better off having good, solid reporting back then when only a few people were talking about it, or today, this hysteria of exaggerated claims and adrenochrome and all this crazy talk, man? What do you think is a better way to approach this?
Well, I think that there's a lot of people aware of Jeffrey Epstein at this point. And they know that something stinks. I know not very non-conspiratorial types that know that something stinks with Jeffrey Epstein. So I think that this is good. Now this has to be funneled into activism. That's what we need. One of the major problems is the media was primarily digging up salacious dirt. I mean, that was it. Right. I mean, they weren't going after the perps. In the 2,000 pages that were released, a number of perps were mentioned. I just talked about some of them, and it was kind of treated like a joke, where they said, "No, I've never met her." Blah 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 blah. I mean, Prince Andrew. I mean, he's got a picture with his arms around Virginia Roberts, one of Epstein's sex slaves, and he said, "Oh, that's a doctored photograph." I mean, our Justice Department is letting these guys get away with just a bunch of disingenuous BS. And that, I mean, the Justice Department is going to cover that up. I mean, that's a given. But it's up to us to become activists and make sure that it's not covered up, because there are other networks. I've been at this for 18 years. I've been looking into networks, large pedophile networks, for 18 years, and there are a number of them. And what I would like to see what happened, and they occur all over. I mean, there was one in the UK that's recently been talked about. There was a big one in Belgium, Portugal. I mean, it just goes on and on and on with these power brokers and children. But in Belgium, it was the Marc Dutroux scandal, and tens of thousands of Belgians hit the streets because they knew that there was a cover-up going on with Marc Dutroux, and that Marc Dutroux, that his crimes went to the highest strata of Belgian society. And we know that about Epstein now, and it's really incumbent upon Americans to summon some outrage. I mean, that's what we really need, some outrage by Americans that we can funnel into activism.
Well, it seems like there is outrage. You know, you sit around a coffee table, you know, with your average neighbor or something like that, and everyone's outraged by this subject. But when it comes to organized opposition, people would more likely, they're more likely to repost a meme that says Epstein didn't kill himself and think that they're making people aware and they're doing something. What do you make of that whole viral meme? Was that a staged event, you think, or do you think that was organic?
I don't know. I mean, there's certainly a lot of anomalies with his death. Yeah. But I think that that's kind of a meme that's just distracts people from the real issue. And I don't, whether or not Jeffrey Epstein killed himself isn't something that I've given too much thought to. There were a number of anomalies at that prison that night when he died. I mean, something isn't kosher there one way or the other. But my focus is on his networks of procurers and perps. And I think, unfortunately, that Epstein has that his death has made a lot of people go that way, follow that meme instead of the meme, you know, we need justice for Epstein's victims. And a lot of people think that they can't do anything. They're alienated. They're estranged. They don't think they can do anything. But I'm giving your listeners something concrete to do. They can go to my petition and they can sign their name. I mean, I'm giving them something very concrete that they can do. It's not going to take much time. It's not going to cost any money. You can contribute if you want, but you don't have to. And then the numbers. We need to build the numbers on this petition. And the more people that we have, the harder it will be to ignore us. It's kind of like Horton Hears a Who from Dr. Seuss.
I remember that.
We need we need some more Who's.
Yeah, you got to lift that one up with your trunk there,
yes.
Right up to the thing. Okay, we're with Nick Bryant. He's the author of The Franklin Scandal, and he's done a lot of work on the Jeffrey Epstein case for years and years and years before anybody was talking about it. We'll be right back with more of Nick Bryant after these messages.
And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119. PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Nick Bryant, who is the author of the book, The Franklin Scandal, which is a fascinating story. Go to Spreaker.com and look up the archives of the show I did previously with Nick Bryant about the Franklin Scandal. And check out the one, too, with Henry Vincent. He co-authored the book with Henry Vincent. I'd love to get Henry back, by the way. He's become a Facebook friend of mine. But I don't think he quite knows how to use Facebook, like instant message and stuff. He comments, he likes my stuff, but when I kind of try and contact him, him. He doesn't get back to me.
Henry's a little shy.
Yeah,
he is not treated very well by the media, so he's just skittish that way, I think.
I think he did great on my show, and I know what you're talking about. He's very sensitive, and I have kid gloves with that guy. Now, let's get into this here. Mar-a-Lago. Virginia Roberts was plucked out of Mar-a-Lago by Ghislaine Maxwell. Trump lives at Mar-a-Lago. Trump was good friends with Epstein. Trump's been on Epstein's plane. Epstein's been on Trump's plane with a teen girl. Trump is friends with Prince Andrew. Trump was photographed laughing and chuckling around with Prince Andrew over there in England 2 days before Epstein's arrested. Ivanka's hanging out with Andrew at that same opportunity. Steve Bannon, friends with Epstein. Bill Barr, connections with Epstein through his dad, the Dalton School. Mnuchin, we just found out that Mnuchin had his name on some legal paperwork for Jean-Luc Brunel. All right? Rudy Giuliani. We know that Rudy Giuliani was the attorney for Tower Financial, partnership between Epstein and Stephen Hoffenberg. Alex Acosta, that's obvious. We know that one, right? What do you make? Do you give Donald Trump a pass in all this, or do you think he's up to his neck in this?
Well, here's the thing with Donald Trump. Alfredo Rodriguez, how I got the Black Book, the Black Book has a very interesting story. Alfredo Rodriguez, who was a house manager for Epstein, purloined his Black Book. And he was trying to sell it to one of the attorneys who was representing some of Epstein's victims. And he said that he'd sell it for $50,000. So the attorney called the FBI, and then the FBI did a sting, and they busted him, and they got the Black Book, which eventually came to me. And the Black Book is a very interesting, it's a very interesting document. Because Rodriguez circled a number of names in the Black Book that the FBI said were quote-unquote potential material witnesses. Now, Trump's name is circled, and there's 16 contact numbers for Trump. Clinton's name is not circled, but there's 21 contact numbers for Clinton. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. Like Alan Dershowitz's name is circled, and Virginia Roberts said that she was molested by him. Bill Richardson's name is circled, and Virginia Roberts says that she was molested by him. So, and she also said that she was molested by a very popular prime minister, and who Barack's name comes up with Epstein. So that's kind of interesting. Now, George Mitchell, who Virginia Roberts said molested, his name isn't circled, but Epstein has a number of contact numbers for him. So I think as more documentation can be released, hopefully, I mean, it's kind of it's a real battle right now to get some of those documents released. But I think as more documents become released, we'll be able to correlate between the victims and the Black Book, and that will be very, very telling.
Okay, but Trump, oblivious, not he knew about it, involved. What do you think?
With Trump, I mean, Virginia Roberts said that Trump was not a perpetrator. But then again, Alfredo Rodriguez circled his name. So, and Trump, I wrote an article about Trump and, well, about the flight logs. And Trump said that he'd never been to Epstein's home, which we now know is a lie. So it's kind of interesting. I think that more information is going to come out. I mean, Trump and Epstein were obviously very good friends. I mean, I don't know why they had a falling out, but Trump's name is circled, and that can be a telling sign.
Yeah, Hoffenberg says it was over a business deal, and like a shady bankruptcy by some Russian oligarch that then sold some property. Now, you say that Virginia Roberts came out and said, well, Trump wasn't one of the abusers, but we know that Stormy Daniels, after she was paid, also released a statement saying that she had no sexual contact with Trump. So there would be a pattern there.
No, I don't think that has anything to do with Virginia Roberts. I think that she was telling the truth, that she'd never met Trump in that kind of an environment. And she also said that she never met Clinton in that kind of environment. But there are a lot of victims, and that's the thing that people don't understand. There's like 30-some victims that have settled cases with Epstein thus far. But that guy was a super predator, and he was active for 30 years. Jeffrey Epstein was preying on underage girls for 30 years. So there's a lot more than 30-something victims. I mean, he had an insatiable appetite for little girls. I mean, he had sex with little girls 3 times a day. I mean, that was his goal. And so there's scores of victims out there. I mean, scores of them. And it would be interesting to see what they would have to say.
Now, blackmail, right? Blackmail is it's a very ballsy move, okay? A guy who's a blackmailer has to have a lot of balls, because one of the solutions to dealing with a blackmailer is to kill the blackmailer, okay? That's just how it goes. So if you have a guy who's blackmailing people like Bill Clinton and other Baruch from Israel there, and these kind of guys, even I believe one of leaders of Colombia was on the plane and stuff like that. You got a guy's blackmailing people at that level, right? And to the point, one thing that always struck me, I don't know if you've ever seen the 24-page letter where Epstein's lawyers claim that Epstein was pivotal in creating the Clinton Foundation.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, as part of his plea negotiations, leniency for his sentencing. Now, just think. Did he contact the Clintons and ask for permission before he put that out there? Just think of the balls to put that in there in your negotiations on charges like this. How was it Epstein was able to blackmail people of such power and live?
Well, the only way that was, first of all, we can establish that Epstein had a penchant for blackmail. When the Palm Beach Police Department searched his home, they found hidden cameras. Ghislaine Maxwell talked about hidden cameras on his island, Orgy Island, in the Virgin Islands. And he also had a number, according to Maria Farmer, he had just about every bathroom and bedroom wired for audio-visual blackmail in his New York mansion. And actually, it was very similar to what Henry Vincent described when he was talking about the blackmail of Spence. Vincent said that Spence, they went into a closet, and then there was a panel behind the closet that they opened, and then there was this monitor. There was this room that just had monitors on it, and each monitor had like its own room. Now, Maria Farmer describes the exact same setup as Henry Vincent does. But here's the thing with with Epstein. He could not have blackmailed people by himself. I mean, Epstein was a lone college dropout from Coney Island. And some of the most powerful men in the world, I mean, billionaires that have tremendous contacts are circled in his black book. I mean, there are a number of those people that I know have access to ruffians, murders, and some of them even to organized crime. So,
or even police departments, there's corrupt police departments out there all over the place that would pick up a guy and he'd never be seen again.
Absolutely. So Epstein had to have had the backing of an organization that made it clear that if something happens to Jeffrey Epstein, there's going to be retribution. And it was that same organization that allowed Jeffrey Epstein to walk. I mean, the deal that he got was mind-boggling. The Palm Beach Police Department had 5 victims of his, and there was a grand jury, and I previously talked about grand juries, and the grand jury didn't find Epstein guilty of any child abuse. I mean, so that grand jury was obviously cooked. So, and the feds actually, when they were working out Epstein's non-prosecution agreement and also his sentence, they had a list of 32 victims of 32 victims of Epstein's. So it was the same organization that protected him when he was blackmailing the rich and the powerful and gave him a sweetheart deal in 2008. And according to Alexander Acosta, that was quote unquote intelligence. He was told to lay off of it when Alexander Acosta was the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida. He was told to lay off of Epstein because Epstein was intelligence, that it was above his pay grade. And that's what I've always assumed about Epstein is he's a lot like Craig Spence. Both came out of nowhere. Both were both lived on Mount Olympus for quite some time, and both killed themselves. So the parallel between Jeffrey Epstein and Craig Spence is quite amazing. There's a tremendous amount of commonalities between those two, and they were both pedophiles, by the way.
And you mentioned too how Henry Vincent talks about these parties in D.C. that the members of the media would be there, some of the big names. He mentioned some names on my show, and all the names are in the book. Guys you see on nightly news every night. Same pattern again with Epstein. George Stephanopoulos hanging out with him, Woody Allen, all these characters.
Well, it's... I once heard that the upper crust is a bunch of crumbs held together by dough. And Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk exemplify that. They think that they are above the laws. They think that they are above. They think that they are untouchable, and now we have to ensure that the procurers and the perps in his network are accountable. We have to, as Americans, we have to make them accountable.
One more time, what was the petition you want people to go to?
It's at change.org. I think you're going to provide a link, and it's basically we're seeking justice for Jeffrey Epstein, for Jeffrey Epstein's victims. It's a concrete step that your listeners can take that may change how the government works, and may get justice for these victims. It's a very, because last time I was on your show, you asked me what can you do, and I was kind of perplexed about that because at that point you were talking about Franklin, and the only thing I could said is that we can start educating people. But with this, you can take a concrete step and sign your name, and it's not that much effort. And as I said, we'll get enough who's together, and we will ultimately be able to make a change.
And your website is franklinscandal.com.
Yes.
People can reach you there. And we can catch you this week, May 9th. We're in May, right? We are in May.
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah. Who knows what day or month it is anymore, man. May 9th, this Saturday, on Sean Atwood's show. And his show plays mostly on YouTube?
Yes, it's going to be from 1 to 3 Eastern Standard Time.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then you'll be on there after that doing some answering questions. And
interacting with the audience.
Oh, boy. It's been fun. How many years since we talked? 5 or 7?
It's been a while.
So long.
I don't. Probably 5, I think.
Now, with the Franklin scandal, are you satisfied with the way the story's out there and is being presented and people's knowledge of it?
No, I'm not. I mean, the way that it's been hijacked on Wikipedia has really hurt me. And it was optioned by Magnolia Pictures, and they tried to turn it into a documentary series, and they couldn't. So people are still afraid of that, but that was before Epstein came out. I think that Americans are starting. When I was pitching Franklin, there was no such thing as a power broker pedophile network. But now we know that power broker pedophile networks exist, and it's we have this rare opportunity with Jeffrey Epstein. We'll never probably have another opportunity like this, but we have a very rare opportunity to actually seek justice for Jeffrey Epstein's victims.
We only got about 30 seconds, but real quick, you think with Epstein's connections in the intelligence community that they would let him either be murdered, kill himself there in that jail?
It's really difficult to know. Jeffrey Epstein was a megalomaniac. I could definitely see him threatening about opening up his mouth. And I think these guys are kind of like in the mafia. The worst thing that they can get, a lot of PR, a lot of press.
Yeah, like John Gotti,
yes.
Right? Anyway, that was his downfall as well. Mr. Nick Bryant, thank you so much. The book is Franklin's Scandal. And
thank you.
And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Maybe the facility you manage could establish new revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. Cart King International can be the answer to your needs. Cart King is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile coffee, food, and retail carts and kiosks. Cart King has been working with clients and corporations across North America for 20 years, providing innovative designs, custom manufacturing, and timely delivery. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on our website. Please visit us today at www.cart-king.com or just call us at 1-877-986-7771 and get your sales rolling.
PureSoapFlakes.com, 218-568-2525. Have you ever heard of Castile Soap? Pure Soap Flake Company handcrafts fine soap bars, laundry powder, and concentrated soap flakes using organic vegetable oils from their northern Minnesota facility. Bathe your body and wash your clothes with Pure Soap products that are free of fragrance, GMOs, palm oil, sodium lauryl sulfate, and synthetic additives. Keep it clean, folks. Pure Soap Flake Company products are kind to living creatures and sensitive skin, safe for drains and waterways, and work great in high-efficiency washers and top and front-loading machines. They have a little promotion going on. Contact them to order some soap. Mention the Opperman Report. You're going to get a free gift. They're going to send a little extra soap, travel size, soap bars and laundry soap, cleaning soap flakes. I've been using that stuff all day long today. Great stuff. Order today at puresoapflakes.com or give them a call, 218-568-2525, 218-568-2525. Pure Soap Flake Company is a proud member of the Handcrafted Soap and Cosmetic Guild.
Are you ready to change your life, but don't know how to start? Is your stress and worries keeping you awake at night? Have you been battling grief, anxiety, or depression all alone? Have you lost touch with your own sense of being or spirituality? Soul Free Therapies offers professional and affordable live video streaming counseling and coaching services from the comfort of your own home. Sessions offered in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Go to our website at www.soul-free.com and book your first session today.
The Opperman Report is brought to you by Aquadam.net. You can give them a call at 707-764-2119. A flooded home is never easy to deal with. You're left with the mess to clean up, the insurance companies to deal with, and not to mention all the memories, the precious memories that are lost in the flood. You can never replace those. And Aquadam can be a tool in your arsenal to protect your home and property from the floodwaters. The cofferdam is filled with water to control water and is reusable as long as it's taken care of. It can protect your home or business from rising floodwaters like a dam, but without the beavers. It can also be used in construction. If you need an area to be dewatered, an Aquadam can do the job. An Aquadam was used at SeaWorld in Orlando for the Mako roller coaster ride during the coaster's construction by dewatering the work area. An Aquadam is now dewatering the work area at San Antonio SeaWorld for their newest roller coaster ride. An Aquadam has been used in many construction projects all around the U.S. and all around the world. Now give Aquadam a call, 707-764-2119. You can look them up online at aquadam.net. You can find them on Facebook at Aquadam Inc. You call them up, you email them, you tell them Ed Opperman sent you, and they're going to take 10% off the price. Aquadam.net, 707-764-2119.